One of my very favorite medicinal mushrooms is lion's mane. On the coast we have Hericium erinaceus. I am more familiar with the coralloides of my part of the world. Fortunately, they all contain very similar compounds that are useful for quite a few clinically researched conditions. They all possess anti-fatigue, nerve regenerating, brain regenerating, helping with blood sugar, helping with depression, helping with cardiovascular health, liver health, and also anxiety. The main compounds in the Hericium are water soluble, meaning that they easily pass through into the bloodstream and pass through the blood-brain barrier, helping to create what is known as a brain neuron growth factor. That is, they actually make the neurites have the ability to grow faster. This is very significant in that we have an impending epidemic, I would say, or a pandemic of individuals with senile dementia and a number, Alzheimer's, and a number of neuromuscular conditions that may well respond to increased nerve growth. We all know that nerves grow at a very slow rate, so by increasing their ability to replicate much quicker, we could get really much more significant benefit. It also has minor anti-inflammatory properties, but it probably should be combined in some form and for some reasons with a great anti-inflammatory mushroom or herb because it doesn't prevent the decline of the neurons, it just increases the growth of new ones. They did several studies in Japan. The one that was most significant to me was 100 people divided into groups. One group control, nothing. The other group were given 1 gram, I believe, twice a day of Hericium powder in a biscuit. And of the 7 individuals who were classified with senile dementia, i.e. early Alzheimer's, 6 out of the 7 showed significant improvement in cognitive function at the end of 6 weeks. Now, what was interesting is they took that same group and they did a 2-week washout where they removed that influence of the lion's mane from them, and they were back to square one. They were back to their original spot. I've been trying for a number of years, 3 now, to get a little bit of funding. I only need, say, 250,000 Canadian, which isn't that much, to do a 100-person study where we take the study and we go for 3 months, 6, and then up to a year, a follow-up, because it may well be that the additional time of people utilizing lion's mane over a period of time, it may be that's something that they have to take as an ongoing supplement. But so what? The amount is incredibly small and could be easily put into a functional food like a yogurt or something. The taste is very, very mild, although it is one of my favorite edibles, I will say, and my wife's too. She's always quite excited when I go out in the woods and spot one of these big, giant, white, space-like coral-looking mushrooms. They look like a coral under the ocean. Another study that I found was very interesting. They did a smaller group, I think it was around 60 women, who were in the midst of menopause, and they did a 6-week study with this group as well. And they found at the end of that study that the Hericium supplementation decreased significantly a lot of the parameters associated with menopausal transition, including hot flushes, anxiety, depression, difficulty with sleeping, things of that nature. So there's something to lion's mane that makes it very useful for a a lot of conditions. I also find that it's very interesting that it has a very interesting effect on the kappa opioid receptors in the brain, suggesting that it may be an adjunct, possible additional way we can start to deal with some of the opioid crises that is occurring, in that it occupies some of the same spaces in the brain when given as a supplement. It does have as I say, 2 of the compounds are very water soluble, so easily absorbed. But there's also compounds in Hericium that are fat soluble. Hence, I like a product that has both water and alcohol soluble constituents in it. That's my preferred method. The idea of grinding the powder to a smaller size really doesn't have much degree of change of efficacy, in that the molecules of interest are already small enough to get easily passed into either the lymphatic system, the liver, or into the bloodstream directly. And so that's irrelevant, I think. But anyways, this is one of my very favorite medicinal mushrooms. I really would love to do more studies on it. One of these days, I'm going to have somebody comes up and goes, "Robert, here's a check for $250,000, do your study." And I'd be thrilled. To date, there are no real contraindications with particular supplements or drugs. There is reason to believe that they can be taken safely. And as I've mentioned, it is a choice edible as well as a medicinal. These little pom-poms, I call them, sometimes they're called monkey head. You can see how it would be called a monkey head. These particular ones, these are dried examples that are often added into soups and stews in some restaurants. And they're all basically effective. However, one rule of thumb is that recent studies also have shown, not that recent, but back 10 years, have shown that heating these to too high a temperature destroys the medicinal value of them. So they need to be dried at a low temperature without them molding and rotting. And so you need to be very careful how you do that. Drying them in an oven probably wouldn't work. Maybe a low temperature Excalibur dehydrator could be beneficial. But what I think is the best model is to take the fresh fruiting bodies and just do a double extraction, which we're going to talk about later. Dosage, it can vary. I don't think the dosage needs to be high. I think 2 grams daily in divided doses of the extracts that are on the market is probably sufficient. Maybe up to 3 if you're dealing with somebody who has more severe cognitive problems. But the dosage is not significant, and I don't think you're going to get a whole lot more improvement by, say, doubling, tripling, 10 timesing the dose. Just stick to the standard dose, maybe a little bit higher, and you'll start to begin to see the effects you're looking for. Probably no sooner than 3 to 4 weeks, you'll start to notice improvement. Okay, so this is the cut on what it looks like on the inside, and in the wild, the Hericium all are really quite a white, bright white, and they show up very contrasting in the dark forest. Some of them look more like brain-like and very dense. Some of them look very much like a more widespread brain and spreading out with little bits of I don't know how to describe, maybe more loose tissue. Then others look very much like little icicles, or the lion's mane, like you know how a lion's mane comes down. And so depending on one of the 4 major wild-crafted species, they look somewhat different, somewhat alike. They all are very juicy and very wet, and so they need to be processed in a relatively expeditious manner and time-wise. So make them, eat them, or just make them into a medicine in a form that works for you.